And we're back on the Fowler Show when it's time for the policy breakdown. And in tonight's policy breakdown, I want to talk to you about how important the month of September is to you. Yes, America, it is true. The month of September is one of the critical is the wrong word. I would say most critical, but you can't say that. It is by far one of the most important months when it comes to American politics, especially this year. Now let's start local, because you know all politics are local. So let's start with the primary election taking place in the Big Apple. Yes, that is New York City, where there is a race between de Blasio, Quinn, Thompson, oh yeah, and what's his name? Anthony Weiner. And now this is the reason why this race is important is because we already know that there's some issues with stand your ground, and we know that this race is part of it is not really hinged upon stand your ground, but certain candidates support it and other candidates don't support it. And I think beyond that, who's the mayor of the city of New York is just a big deal politically anyway. So the primary for the Democratic Party happens in the month of September. One thing that is a reason why you should pay attention to the month of September. The second reason why September is such an important month is because of the debt ceiling. So, folks, we've had this conversation before on the Fowler Show about the debt ceiling, and we've said last week we released a video when we talked about it on the show. I want to say last week about John Boehner indicating that he will do everything in his power to fight the president on the debt ceiling. Now, Obama could get a big political win here. As you already know, if we reach our debt level and we do not come up with a deal, the American government could shut down. Complete and total and utter government shutdown, and we won't be able to pay our bills. Now, this has never been a political problem before, but now it is a huge political problem. Earlier in the show, I talked about why, there's a lot of Republicans who want to hinge a debt ceiling with the Obamacare fight, and how those two things sort of interplay. But it doesn't matter on that front. The debt ceiling is about America's credit worthiness, and that is basically how our economy is judged, how we judge investments, how we judge what our country does next, how people judge the economic viability of America. This Congress and these Republicans will do everything in their power to bring this president to his knees, including, not limited to, shutting down our government and shutting down our debt ceiling. Now, what makes this matters worse is the second. So the debt ceiling is, I would say, the lobby of a building. The second floor and the bigger issue here is the grand bargain and the whole idea that at the end of the month, if we don't pass a concurrent resolution or we don't pass a budget, we're not gonna, the government won't exist. So the government has there's two sort of things that are sort of interplaying at the same time. The debt ceiling, as well as the fact that we have to pass an FY14 budget. And we haven't done that yet. So that is the meat and potatoes here. Because if the government shuts down because we don't have a budget, that means no more safety inspectors, no more Social Security checks, no more Medicaid, no more Medicare, no more food inspections, no more Head Start. It really will gut our country and destroy the recovery that this president has worked his whole presidency to create. The fact that we created the 42 million jobs, those jobs disappear if we don't solve our grand bargain problems. And this Republican Party seems to be willing to go all the way to the brink and possibly beyond the brink and cause our government to shut down. This is scary, America, and it should be. But to be perfectly honest, I got to tell you, I think that the president, there's no need, you cannot negotiate with terrorists. And these Republicans are what you call political thugs, and they're political terrorists. They're terrorizing the American people. They're terrorizing hardworking Americans. And I think this president needs to be very clear. The American people and all the polling data out there tells us that most people do not want the government to shut down. And they blame the Republican Party for the government shutting down. So we know these things to be true. So us as progressives have got to hold the line and say, listen, you're either going to invest in America's greatest resource, its people, or you're going to, divest in America's greatest resource, which is the dumbest thing that anybody could do. So the Republican Party is in a world of hurt here. And so let's put this all in a mixing bowl and spin it, right? So you have the debt ceiling, and we already said they've downgraded our credit rating once. They could downgrade our credit rating again because of the debt ceiling. And the fact that they've got to fund the government, and they've got to create a responsible fiscal path for America's future, right? And the Republican, they're off. Their messaging is off on this, and they know it. The powers that be, the people that are the smart ones in the party, like the Karl Roves, smart guy. Great, smart guy. I like Karl. Karl's a smart guy, right? The Frank Luntzes, all those people like, whoa, yo, Tea Party, pump the brakes. Y'all are going a little too far. We can't afford a government shutdown. It's the worst thing for the Republican Party. And they're right. America, yes, they are. They're right. And I think now you put all that into play with the fact that we're going to talk about this later on the show. And you put all that into play with the fact that we have a war resolution that's on the floor of the United States Senate and on the floor of the United States House that would possibly send our men and women into Syria, that would cost us billions of dollars to do it, right? And you also put that into fact that we are a year away from the next midterm elections, and beyond being a year from the next midterm elections, we're also 2 years, almost 2 years away from the 2016 election. So there's a lot of political viability and political jockeying happening while this is all going down. So this is like the perfect storm for all the political junkies, but this is also the worst thing. September could be the best or the worst month for millions and millions of Americans. Not to mention there's other things at play here. One thing at play is the immigration bill, which is now in the mix, comprehensive immigration reform, which has passed the United States Senate, is in the United States House, right? There's a lot of moving pieces here, folks. So I say to you all, pay attention to what's going down. And on top of that, members have been home for the past 30 days. 30 some odd days they've been home talking to their constituents. And the American people have been talking to their members of Congress. And so it's going to be an interesting situation. I think there's going to be some progressives that take a very hard stance to this whole thing. You have your Alan Graysons out there who are saying, listen, we're not going to go to war. We need to fix America. We need to rebuild America. And I think you're going to find some odd, interesting bedfellows in the month of September. There's going to be some people that usually don't ally, but they're going to ally together to get some stuff done. Because I honestly and truthfully believe that those Republicans that are in the moderate districts, the 25 seats that Democrats could possibly pick up, I think even Mitch McConnell, who is in the race of, first of all, he's in the primary race of his life, and then he's in the general election race of his life against Miss Lunder Grimes, Secretary of State Lunder Grimes in Kentucky. They're going to be an interesting place. Is Mitch McConnell going to go all the way to the right? Or is he going to say, let's broker a deal? And him brokering a deal can really sort of wade off his political woes happening back at home. And the same goes, and on the opposite end of that, you have, you have Senator Enzi, who's running against Lynn Cheney in Wyoming. So he could choose, and he seems to be one of those deal breakers. And I know I'm getting in the weeds here, but I think it's important that we have these conversations. He's a deal maker in the House and a deal maker in the Senate. And let's see how he plays. And I think beyond all those other pieces that we're talking about, you also have the first electoral test. We're at the end of the month of September. We're going to be at the end of the first electoral test for this Tea Party extreme crazy, right? Because you have the matchup between Ken Cuccinelli and Terry McAuliffe happening in the Virginia governor's race. It's the first statewide Tea Party crazy versus established Democrat in the country since the presidential election. So we'll talk more about this on the Fowler Show in the future. We'll be right back on the Fowler Show after this break.